Hey guys, it's Neil again from Heart of Texas Armory, and today I want to bring you guys a video review of one of these Schrade Viper out the front. So these are pretty cool knives for the money, guys. So you can see the overall size here in reference to my hand, and they do have an assisted opening there out the front blade. So pretty cool blades here, guys. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit, take a look at this in a little more detail, and we'll close the video review out with my overall thoughts and positives and negatives. So join me today as we take a look at this really cool and affordable OTF knife from Schrade. All right, guys, we're zoomed in here so we can talk about the specs of this knife. So let's go ahead and start off with the model of this particular blade. Again, this is a Schrade Viper, their third generation OTF blade here. And the actual model number here is SCH OTF 3BS, and they do have a few different varieties of this particular blade. The differences being the actual blade pattern and the coating on the blade. You can see this has the black coating here. Overall length of this blade, you're looking from front to back here, you're looking at 8.8 inches. Handle length here, 5.3 inches, and we do have a blade length of 3.5 inches here. Dual edge, you can see it is sharp on both edges, and you do have a little bit of serrated section here. Of course, this is a dagger style blade, and you have a blade thickness here of 2.8 millimeters. So being that thin and this blade profile, it is going to perform really good on slicing or stabbing things. The weight of this particular knife is 4.9 ounces, so pretty good weight to it. It feels solid in the hand. Now your steel here, Schrade uses the 4034 stainless steel, which is, in all honesty, it's a pretty entry-level stainless steel. It does take a decent edge. It holds the edge fairly well, but this is still an entry-level stainless steel, so it's not going to be the best performer, but it is easy to sharpen, and it will keep a decent edge as long as you maintain that edge. The handle material here is all aluminum, so you have aluminum scales on both sides, and you can see it's nicely machined here. And one of the best things about this particular knife is the price. So these come in at around $40, and I do sell these, so if you're interested in one, I can sell you one. So just contact me via email. You should be seeing my email pop up right now, and I can let you know what kind of price I can get you. It'll definitely be a good deal for you if you're interested. So let's go ahead and move to some of the talking points here for this blade. So let's go ahead and talk about the controls for this knife. So in the hand, it feels nice. It's got a decent grip. You can see that nicely machined aluminum handles here. But let's go ahead and show you the operation of this particular out the front, because it's a little different and a little more awkward than your traditional double action out the front. So the way this works is it's actually an assisted out the front. So you can see we have a lever here, which is your safety. So when you have it on red, it's ready to fire. Here, you're on safe. Your throw lever is actually down here, and it does travel, this throw lever, the entire track right here. Hopefully you can see like a little cutout right there. There's a little cutout that the track does fly through when we release it. So let's go ahead and show this in operation. You can do this one-handed. Of course, you can do it two-handed too. And I'll show you a couple different ways to operate, or at least the ways that I do it. But let's go ahead and get the safety off. So now we're ready to fire. Of course, the blade's going to come out this direction, so keep your hand out of there, and also keep your hand or any other object away from the travel of that throw lever. So once you have the safety off, you can flip that forward, and you can see the blade fires right out. So works pretty easy. Again, it's a little awkward because you do have to grip kind of low on the blade, because you see if you try up here, you're not going to be able to reach it really. It's very awkward. You can get it, but it's just not very ergonomic. So the way I typically do it is I kind of hold it like this down here low. I'm able to get my thumb right there. You have enough grip with these fingers to hold the blade in hand, and you can release it. The other way that I do with this particular one is a backwards or reverse grip. So holding the knife like this, of course, keeping your fingers away from that track, you're able to release it that way too for a reverse grip. So either way works pretty good. It's just a little awkward. When you throw the blade up, it is locked into position. It is held in here. There's a little release lever. So when it's locked in, the thumb stud, this becomes a thumb stud. So the throw lever is now your thumb stud, which is nice and comfortable when you have it like that. But you obviously can't pull the blade back until you release it. there is a little lever right here. So you release the lever, you can see the blade now is free. I can move it around, and then there is spring tension, and you're able to do it one-handed. It is easier using two hands here to pull the blade back, but you can do it one-handed. The way I do it is I kind of move my pinky underneath it to support it, and then you're able to pull it back like that. And of course, that is your safety there. So operation, it works fine. You can do it one-handed. The whole thing here, the whole point I'm trying to make is it's just a little awkward compared to like your double action out the fronts. But the action of it does fire out nice. There's hardly any blade play, so that's always good. But that awkwardness, opening it one-handed is kind of a negative. But again, we're talking about a $40 out the front here, so overall can't complain too much. So let's wrap this video review up with the positives and negatives. So with the first positive here, it's just a great value. $40 for an out the front knife that's reliable, locks up good. I mean, it's just a good value. $40. You're not going to find a whole lot of out the front knives that can compete with this at that price point. Also, like I mentioned, the lockup is very strong because you're having a piece of steel lock into a cutout in the blade. So similar to like a folding knife, that the lockup that you see on those, this is very strong compared to most out the front knife styles, particularly ones that are going to be double action like this one here. The lockup is very strong on this. Of course, you do have a negative that you do have to release the blade, but the actual lockup is very nice. And being an assisted opening out the front, this is going to be probably legal in a lot more states than, say, your double action. So, of course, check your local laws before you order one of these to make sure they are legal, but this type of assisted out the front is going to be legal in a lot more states. I do like that it has a nice deep carry pocket here and also a glass breaker. So you can use this in an emergency situation to break through some glass like in a vehicle or something like that. And that's always a good thing. And the clip, like I mentioned, is nice too. So this wears very deep in the pocket, and that's always a positive. Now the negatives, there are quite a few negatives with this particular style of out the front. So you saw it earlier. It's just kind of awkward to use one-handed. It's just not as nice as the double actions. These type of blades here are always going to be a lot more satisfying to use and not as awkward to use as this type of here that you see on the Schrade. So that is a negative. And then of course here too, your throw lever, it sits a bit high. You can see how it sits up here, so you can get things caught up in here. In fact, if you have your thumb like this and you throw that lever, it can actually grab some of your skin and pinch you pretty good. So you have to be aware of that. You can see how it's grabbing my skin there. So that throw lever, it sits a bit proud, and it's also a bit sharp. So a little pointy on those edges there. So that's a bit of a negative. And being that it has this track it has to follow through, you do have quite a few openings here that you can get dirt and debris into that could affect the mechanism of this particular knife. So you probably will have to clean this periodically, which you can access through these screws here to open it up and clean it out if you need to. But just keep in mind that there are quite a few areas where dirt and stuff can get into the action of this blade. So a bit of a negative there too. Another thing I don't really care for about this blade is that you can hear the springs. It's not real loud, but if you take the blade and just smack it on your hand, you can hear a low or actually a high frequency kind of hum of those springs kind of just moving around in there. So a bit of an annoyance. That happens a lot, even on your high-end double action out the fronts. They're going to have some spring noise too, but it's a bit loud and annoying kind of on this. Again, not a huge negative, but it is what it is. And then I already mentioned it, but the main thing with these is, the negative at least, is they're just not as satisfying to use as a double action. So this assisted style here works fine. It's going to get you an out the front knife, but they're just not as fun to play with as the double actions. These are always going to be so much more satisfying to use. So that is a bit of a negative too. It's just not as fun or satisfying as a true double action out the front. But overall, guys, these knives here from Schrade, $40, they're a great value. And I definitely recommend them. The steel is not the best in the world, but again, it's easy to touch up. And this is not going to be something you're going to be using out in a survival situation. This is just a EDC type blade that's easy to operate one-handed, and opening packages, cutting through cardboard, stuff like that. That's what this is going to be really good at, or maybe even in a self-defense situation. So overall, $40, it's a great blade. If you want to get an out the front knife and you haven't purchased one of the high-end ones like a Microtech or H&K or Hogue, this is definitely a good option that can kind of get you an out the front knife for well under $50, and that's always a good thing in my opinion. Just be aware of the negatives we talked about with the slight awkwardness of using this type of mechanism, but overall it is a nice blade, so I do recommend it. So if you have any questions or comments on this blade, be sure to leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. So guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Y'all guys take care.